talk about the Sega Dreamcast, we have to take it back to the release of the Sega Saturn. After the Sega company kept trying to keep the Sega Genesis alive with the release of the Sega CD and the 32X, they moved on with the Saturn, which was supposed to release in September of 1995. But Sega wanted to be the first in releasing their system before the Sony PlayStation to be ahead of the race. So they pushed it to November 22nd, 1994 in Japan and May 11th, 1995 in North America. In North America, that would be 4 months before the launch of the PlayStation 1. This company move would really destroy how Sega would move forward due to the lack of games that would come out because it did not give developers time to code for the system. Within 4 months from the time that Sega Saturn launched to the time that the PlayStation launched, the Saturn sold 80,000 units, but on day one of the PlayStation 1, there were 100,000 units sold in the USA. This really had the Sega company panicking, and they went back to the drawing board. Sega decided to move on what they thought would be the best option, and that was the beautiful 108-bit system, code name at the time Katana, and the Dreamcast as we know it today. The Dreamcast was equipped with a 3D graphics chip from NEC, a 56K modem out the box for online gameplay, which was the first to do so at its time, and a GD-ROM disc that would store 1 GB of gameplay. It released on 9/9/99. This sounds awesome, but in the background, Sony had just revealed the PlayStation 2 on March 2nd, 1999. The PS2 was a gamer's dream. Here are the specs between the two. At the launch of the Dreamcast, it did amazing, with a total of 16 launch titles to help sell 1.2 million consoles by the end of 1999. So what happened? Well, Sony happened. There was just way too much power from the PlayStation 2 at the launch, and it was devastating for Sega. In Japan alone, there was 600,000 PlayStation 2s sold day one. That just shows you right there that there's going to be a battle. Also on top of that, Microsoft saw how the gaming was going and getting ready to cash in with the original Xbox. With the PS2 selling like it was, that meant that the Dreamcast was not selling at all, and it left a lot of inventory for Sega. There was hope though. First they started with SegaNet, which was a paid service, and it was $21.95 a month, and that would allow you to play games online against friends, pretty much how we do today, but we do it for way cheaper. And if you got the subscription for 2 years, then you would get a free Dreamcast and keyboard. Second, the PS2 had really terrible launch titles. Third, it cost more than Dreamcast. But all of this wasn't enough. So on March 31st, 2001, Sega discontinued the Dreamcast and became what we know of Sega today, a third-party software maker for all systems. To sum it up, this is what happened to the Dreamcast. First, it came out a bit too early in my opinion, which allowed Sony and other developers to see what they did and do it better. Sega was the first to bring online play, but Sony did it better, and we know Xbox did it better. The PlayStation 2 was a lot more powerful, and it was a cheaper DVD player at the time, which was the biggest killer. The Dreamcast did not have any third-party support. Remember how I told you about the Saturn? Well, after they launched the Sega Saturn early, the developers did not want to code for Sega anymore, which left a lot of third-party games to not be released on the Sega Dreamcast. I've always thought the Sega Dreamcast was ahead of its time. Online gameplay and being able to go download early forms of DLC to help extend the gameplay. The controller was revolutionary. Also, you could use a mic for some games, and also you could use it to talk with friends online. There was also a VMU, which was a visual memory unit, which was a memory card, but it also allowed you to play many games on it also. The Dreamcast was the first to display in 480p, which might not sound good for today's standards, but it was awesome in my childhood. Yo, so I took y'all on a journey through the Sega Dreamcast. Probably one of my top favorite consoles ever made. I'm talking about over the Nintendo, over the Sega, over the Atari 2600, over Xbox One, PS4. I love this console. See, this console right here, in my opinion, is why you have your Xbox Ones and your PS4s and stuff like that, and the reason why we are elevating to another level when it comes to systems and games. This console was just, in my opinion, brought out a little too early. It was too powerful at the time for what was to be. Even though the PlayStation did come in and do things a little bit different, the only difference that the PlayStation did, in my opinion, and most of you guys may agree, you know, it is what it is. But what the PlayStation did was added a DVD drive on there, which killed it. And that's just what's going to happen. So, you know, this is my baby. This is my 9999. You know, this is my baby right here. And she still works. She still does her thing. You know, I mean, if you guys look at this controller, you guys can see so many similarities to the Xbox controller. You do know that the people from Sega went to go work with Microsoft, and this is the reason why the Xbox controller looks so much, just, you know, kind of like the Dreamcast controller. I have a bunch of games. I have all of these things, but I want to kind of do a separate video for that. So, look, guys, if you love the video, please thumbs up, subscribe. You know, I'm new on this. I'm new on the YouTube scene. I'm trying to get a lot of retro stuff going. I'm a super retro head. I love retro gaming. So you guys are going to go through my journey and building my collection when I move into my house, building my studio, and you guys, you know, you guys will be there first. So give me that thumbs up. Peace out. What up, what up? Make sure you guys go subscribe to the Man Cave. We got a whole bunch of stuff coming for you. Peace.